This is the chorus.
Hello, everybody out there on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to open the doors in just a minute. Thanks for your patience. Glad you're here today. And here we go. Hello, everybody. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy January 3rd. I almost said December. So glad all of you are with us today. Welcome to everyone out there on Facebook Live. We're glad you're here too, especially hello to Mary Bonnie in Omaha. And hello in here to Aloysius in Massachusetts, Deli in DC, Karen in Arizona. Hello, Susan in Ohio, Arlene in California, and Betsy Fulford, Washington Royals music director. Glad you're here today, Betsy. Hello to Trish, holding up a Field House Brewing sign. Very nice. Oh, holding up a cat in a Field House Brewing box. That's totally adorable. Thank you, Trish. Love it. Thank you. Good. Hello, Martha in Oregon. How are you today? Busy Graham and Busy Graham from Carpe Diem Arts. Hello, Busy Graham. Luda in Victoria. Hello, nice to see you. Carolyn in the DC area. Hello. And Mac in New Hampshire. And hello, Doug in Vermont. Deborah in Kentucky. Bonnie in Idaho. Becky in Vancouver. Kathy in Virginia. Hello, nice to see you. Jane in the UK. Sarah, hello, nice to see you. And Kevin in New Hampshire. Hello, Elise Witt. Glad that you have us. Glad that you're here in the room. I think you have something to tell us, which I'll ask you about later. Elise coming in from Georgia. She is one of our regular song leaders. Hello to Lisa in Indiana. Susan in Seattle. Hello. And Carolyn also holding up a cat in Idaho. Hello, nice to see you. Very, very nice cat. Very cheerful looking cat. Hello, Anne in DC and James in a car. Nice to see you today. Be careful not to look at the screen while you are driving. Dan in Virginia, hello. Gary in Massachusetts, hello. Steve in Baltimore, hello. Toby in California. Happy New Year, Toby. We're glad you're with us today. Love the background. And let's see, Jamie in Victoria. No, yes, Victoria. Hi, nice to see you. Fred in Maryland, hello. Isabel in Florida, glad you're back. Hello. Nancy in Vermont, hello. And folks off video, let's see, we have Valerie and Gay and Lynn and Joni and some others in net coming into the room right now. Glad to see you all today. Glad you're here. Looking forward to singing with you on this third day of 2021, which yesterday we were cheering a little bit on the tired side. And today, hopefully, we're all going to be a little more energetic, especially with the message that our fabulous song leaders are bringing to us today. A couple of quick announcements for anybody who's new to us. We're here every day at noon Eastern time, singing one song, having some chat, and sometimes doing some extra special fun things on the side. The lyrics will be in the chat today. There's a donate link in the chat. My email's in the chat if you want to either get on our email list or just email me about anything. You can reach me there. And I want to thank Aaron Geyer and Julia May for running the tech today. Thanks so much, guys. And I want to turn it over to our fabulous artists for that. You can hardly call them our guests because they're with us very regularly and they're just solid members of this community. Dan and Claudia Zanes coming in from Baltimore have a fabulous song that I believe they have written, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it and learning it. Welcome, Dan and Claudia.
Thank you.
All
Nice to
right,
see you
thank
all.
you.
Happy New Year.
So good to be here with everybody. Yes, Happy New Year.
Yes.
Happy New Year. And that's right, this is a song that we wrote during our social isolation song series, our 200 days. We thought we were doing so well to do 200 days, a song a day. And then, after 200, we just fell by the wayside, and Daily Antidote has kept on rolling.
Yeah.
So we're so happy to be a part of this incredible undertaking. And so we gave you a link because we made a video for UCLA for a festival that they did of 10 videos of songs that we wrote during our social isolation song series. So the link is in there if you want to see a little bit about Baltimore. And the song is called In These Troubled Times. It's somewhat of a gospel tune.
All right, so your part in this song is very simple. You're singing in these troubled times. So your part goes like this. In these troubled times. That's the first part. And then the second part goes like this. In these troubled times. Not much context, so it sounds random when I'm singing it like this. But you want to try just the chorus,
Yeah.
maybe just so we can... troubled times, in these troubled times. Let's do it one more time, okay? One more time. In these troubled times, in these troubled times. Fantastic, yeah. So it's a song, you know, you'll read the message in the lyrics, but again, it's just us crying out to say in these troubled times, God, we're asking for strength, we're asking for joy, we're asking for a heart to hear and to listen. So we're so happy to share this one with you. God, give us the eyes to see that storm on the water, to see that storm on the water. In these troubled times, and God, give us the ears to hear that storm on the water, to hear that storm on the water. Here we go. In these troubled times, in these troubled times. God, give us the heart to feel that storm on the water, to feel that storm on the water. In these troubled times, and God, give us the joy to dance like a storm on the water, to dance like a storm on the water. In these troubled times, in these troubled times. Oh God, give us the strength to be that storm on the water, to be that storm on the water. In these troubled times, in these troubled times, these troubled times. Yes, we need your strength,
These troubled times.
and we need your heart.
These troubled times.
Bring us the joy
These troubled times.
in these troubled times.
These troubled times.
Yes, they're troubled times.
These troubled times.
We're moving through these times.
These troubled times.
Oh yeah, oh
These
yeah.
troubled times.
In these troubled times.
These troubled
In
times.
these troubled times.
These troubled times.
In these troubled times. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dan and Claudia. That was perfect and exactly the right place, at least for me, to feel like my brain wants to go now that we've passed the sort of celebratory end of 2020. And, you know, we've talked about this in this room a lot. 2020 was such a hard year, and it was things that felt like they were bigger than things we could resolve. The virus, terrible leadership, whatever the things were that felt too overwhelming to even begin to fix. But there's little signs of hope, a vaccine, new leadership that make us feel like actually we can see the other side of this. And it happens that 2021 is starting as the symbolic place to feel like we can reinvest and start again. So yesterday, we had folks putting into the chat sort of what can we do? What are the things we can do? And there were great answers coming in, everything from buying books from local bookstores to buying less altogether, to listening more and then listening better. And all of these things are absolutely a part of what it is that we need to do. Some of them direct action steps and some of them just more ways of living. But I'm curious to know if you guys want to start the conversation by inputting a little bit about what you guys are thinking about 2021 and where the action steps lie, or what you're just feeling is going to be the motion.
Let's start.
Sure. That's a heavy question. You know, so Dan and I, we ring in the new year. We had a beautiful meal and we reflected on 2020 and we talked about what we'd like to see more of in 2021. And for me, the word that just kind of kept coming up in my mind and in my heart is the word growth. I just feel like 2020 for me was a lot of turmoil and strife and pain, but it was a lot of sowing of seeds as well. So I just really feel that 2021 is sort of the reaping the harvest now. And so how do we want to grow? So I'm thinking about that in terms of emotionally, spiritually, being new to this community, this city here in Baltimore as well. How do we grow with the people around us? So for me, it's just growth is the big word that comes up for me.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think for me, you probably know what I'm going to say, but I think for me, and I would speak as a white person and speak to the white people here today. I was brought up to believe that if I was just a good person, then that was enough. You know, that if I just sort of cleared the prejudice from my heart, all that would be enough. If my intentions were good, then I was part of the solution and not the problem. What I came to find out was, for me, it's not quite like that. And I realized at a certain point, I started talking to other white folks who were deeply invested in anti-racism. And I started to see the world different. My perspective shifted so much. And I realized that I needed to be active in order to be a part of the solution. I needed to be active. And for me, one of the things that was a foundational piece was to talk to other white people about race, racism, and white supremacy and white male supremacy. And so I would like to invite any of you who are not engaged in that kind of conversation to join us at Constructive White Conversations. There's 7 gatherings a month, constructivewhiteconversations.org. And I will say, and I'm looking at someone right now, I will say we've had some incredible people from the Daily Antidote community join us. Bonnie, good morning. And really people have brought so much to the party. So if you ask yourself, am I in regular conversation with other white people about anti-racism? And if the answer is no, come join our growing white anti-racist community. It is only one part of the anti-racism puzzle. Let's be clear about that. It's only one part. But I know for me and for many others, it's been a very important part. And we've had Joe there with us. And, you know, everybody's come as you are. It's a welcoming entry point. And we would love to see you there.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks, Claudia. Those were great thoughts. And sorry if I hit you with a hard question first, but it is on my mind a lot, right? So since we're done with the celebrating now, all the responsibility is sort of settling back in, and so the whats have been really a big thing that going through my mind as I was making New Year's resolutions and thinking about what's in this year for me. Where are the places I can put myself and make some change? And the Constructive White Conversations have been amazing. And I didn't know or understand how much I would gain from sitting in a room and talking like that. So we've done a lot of DEI work at Revels and with the different boards that I'm affiliated with. And it was all a journey of learning. And for a lot of us, at least with the groups that I've been moving with, a lot of us were learning a lot of it for the first time. So sort of in a place where it sounds like you were at one point, where we thought we were just, being good and that was enough. And that has been an amazing shift, an amazing learning curve. So I think I've mentioned this once in this room before. Dan, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the Scene One radio podcast, Seeing White. I think his name is John Bowen or something. It's out of Duke University. Yeah. I would say that those have been unfathomably useful to me. Like I really can't believe the growth that has happened just while I'm simply driving in my car listening to those podcasts. So I highly recommend them. And if you're not catching the name, because I'm not exactly sure I'm saying it right, I'll put it in the chat when someone else is talking. But really, it was like 5-part series, I think, and totally worth it. And that's the listening better and the listening more, I think, aspect of it. Not only though listening to people who already agree with us and who have something to teach us, but I think listening also to people that don't agree with us and seeing where we can find better places to merge our efforts. So I'm thinking that we have enough time for hands today. So if there are folks that want to pop questions either into the chat or raise hands, I would love to hear from people, especially on this topic of ways that we can invest ourselves into this year. We're going to have a Singing for Racial Justice and Singing for Social Justice series again in the Daily in January and in February, and probably moving forward. So stay tuned for more information on that. And in the meantime, are there folks in the room that want to volunteer? Kevin, I see you have a hand up.
There, can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Okay, so this isn't really a specific thing, but I feel like a lot of people, their general consensus is that 2021 is, 2020 is over. So, and there's going to be new leadership so that the work is all done, but it's not. I think 2021 will be a year of healing for a lot of people, both from your own perspective and also from the perspective of the world as a whole. I think people need to really hone in on the fact that the work isn't done just because we have new leadership in the House. Yep. And I don't know, that's just my 2 cents.
I think your 2 cents are extremely valuable, worth at least 3 cents or 4 cents, or maybe even 100,000 cents. So yes, exactly, Kevin. So you guys all might remember, or those of you who are here, that Arne Batson, when she sang with us, said, you know, we had Obama for 8 years and we all basically went to sleep. And now we're woke up. Now we're woke, she said. And that's a really, really good way of looking at it. Toby, I see you have a hand up. Would love to hear from you.
Yeah, hi, thanks. First off, I want to say hi to Dan from Late Night CWC. It took me a minute to figure out where I know you from. One of the things that's been on my mind a lot, and I know this is going to feel controversial to some people, but is that we need to not just listen to the folks we agree with, but also to the folks we disagree with. I think the thing that bothers me the most is people shouting at each other without listening. And I was talking to an activist recently who was saying, I can't believe that the Trump supporters are going to hang on. I was like, what? Yes, they are. They're going to hang on as much as we did through the Trump presidency. They're going to keep hanging on. We have to listen to them. We have to build consensus. We have to build common ground. I took a fantastic training that I will try to find the information for and put in the chat about how to do that, how to start to nudge the needle in our conversations, particularly with our white friends and family who might think a little differently from us. Can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I'll go grab it and put it in the chat. It was really, really helpful, and it was specific to having those conversations to help people expand their thinking, just moving the needle a little bit.
Yeah.
So, Toby, that's really great. Thank you. Dan, did you want to respond to that?
I was just going to say, here, and good to see you.
Yeah, so it's a lot harder to listen to the people that we don't agree with. And in fact, sometimes it's really challenging. Sometimes they lose you on the first or second or third word that they use because they're trigger words for us and they're things that we already have really fixed opinions about. And it's challenging. And in some ways, trying to envision where the parts are we can come together is very challenging. And I think it's going to be a really important piece of this year. And I don't have the foggiest clue even how to begin that, both personally or in any kind of community type sense. So I see Becky has a hand up, and I see Steve in Baltimore, and I think Elise. So Becky, why don't you go?
Yeah, the word that was just used that I've been thinking about a lot is common ground. And because I'm a dual citizen, I think of these things from more than one place of seeing what's going on here. And in Canada, we have several parties, whereas there are only 2 in the US that are functionally there, right? And so one of the things I really felt was that if either from a people's movement or any of the politicians who are showing some hope of grasping some of the bigger things instead of just their own sort of power and so on, that if we could have a party in the States called Common Ground, that really doesn't just turn it over to the representatives or however that goes, but really says this is our common ground. And discussions within that, I think that would be one of the places to start on the political level, right? On the community and political level. But that's just something I've been thinking about while I've been watching the process from more than one direction right now.
That's great, Becky. Thank you. So, yep, finding that common ground, focusing on that common ground is an amazing. So somebody put into the chat something along the lines of how are we going to listen to each other if they don't hear what we're saying or something. And I would say likewise, sort of my point about the trigger words is potentially we're not hearing them either because we hear the word and we don't hear what's behind it. And it's that better listening or deeper listening. And I can't say that I know how to do it. I just know I'm supposed to do it. But very, very good thoughts. Thank you. So I can't remember who I said was next. Steve, maybe? Baltimore?
Hi. Yes, Steve. I just want to reflect for a moment following up on Dan's remarks about continuing our work with dismantling white supremacy. My granddaughter, in lieu of not being able for her family to attend her graduation with a master's in social work, asked us to take a workshop on dismantling white supremacy. She is doing anti-racism work in St. Louis. And I'm 82, so I've been doing justice work for many decades, and it's easy for people like myself to get complacent. The text for this workshop was Me and White Supremacy by Layla Saeed, and I recommend it without reservation. It is just an outstanding, it's an easy read. It's presented in a way that us white folks are not going to feel threatened by it, that somebody is pointing a finger and shaking it at it. And I found that as we were discussing the book in our smaller groups, that because of the tone of the book, it was a lot easier to engage in a very frank and open conversation. I put it in the chat, and I would commend it to people's attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you, Steve. That's really, really great. Something that you just said made me think of something about the listening, but now I'm totally losing my thread, but something about the way that we listen and whether or not it's easy or not. So you said it's not threatening, and oh, that's what it was, that maybe partially the reason why it feels threatening is because we have a lot of trigger words loaded up. So they feel threatening because we don't understand how people could even use those words or think in those words. And so it gets us to a place where our listening stops before we've even started in some ways. So let's see, was Elise, did you want to say anything? I got a little sneak peek of something yesterday that I believe we're going to see tomorrow.
Hi everybody from Georgia. Thank you all for your support here. And thank you also for this very deep and important conversation. I think that one of the ways of finding common ground is through art, and that's what's happening here. And a lot of you know that I presented a song during the Daily Antidote for the Smithsonian Folklife Center, the Jenny Jenkins song. And afterwards, we had this idea. I can't remember, was it your idea, Joe, or was it Jessica's? Anyway, there was an idea that got floated out to get artists from all over to illustrate the verses, because each verse is about a different color. And I rewrote the verses, of course. So we put that out there, and we got, I think, over 100 submissions. And the ages were from, I think, 3 to 83 of artists of all different genres. There's a gourd artist, there's sculpture, there's paintings, drawings. Anyway, so Jessica Lilly put together this beautiful video of the Jenny Jenkins song, and we're going to show it tomorrow and the Daily Antidote and sing it. And at the end, when we redo, we want to ask people to make some more new verses. So those of you that are here, I know there's a bunch of people actually here on this call that submitted art, but if you have new ideas for verses, oh, what will you wear? So it's will you wear, and then a certain color, and then rhyming with that color. And we have a lot of, we have a Georgia, of course, we have several Georgia and RBG verses and a John Lewis reference and all that. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with everyone tomorrow on the Daily Antidote. And I'm so grateful to you all for inspiring this project.
Thank you, Elise. It's very nice to know that there's a part 2 coming. I'm so excited to see tomorrow's. And as you were talking, my brain thought, Biden, wait a minute, nothing rhymes with Biden. So I'm not really sure. That's a challenge I'll put out there. Anybody who wants to come up with a verse that rhymes with Biden, having to do with colors or things you can wear. Somebody's probably already come up with it because, yeah, because I said it. And so someone who has an actual brain that functions at this time of day is like, oh, all right. So I think, do we have any more hands? I'll scroll quickly, and otherwise I'm going to ask Dan and Claudia if we can sing again. I don't see any more hands. Aaron or Julie, are you seeing any that I'm missing? Okay. So Dan and Claudia, if I can oops,
Kevin,
did somebody Kevin, did you have a hand up again?
So I just wanted to say too, the work that I do on a more personal level is disability advocacy. And I am very excited to see what this year will bring with disability advocacy in our world that we live in. And I think Elise made a great point about one of the ways that we find common ground is through the arts.
That's exactly right, Kevin. Thank you so much. And lots of you already know that many of us have watched a film called The Antidote, and or may still be watching it for our discussion in January, which Kevin is going to co-host with me. And I think we'll probably end up talking about and get to hear a little bit more from Kevin about disability advocacy, since that is definitely a part of the film. So thanks again, Kevin. That was great. Really glad to hear from you again. So, all right, gang, Dan and Claudia, you know that sometimes we sing a verse at the end, and if you aren't too tired and just want to sing the whole thing again, it was awfully good. So if you've got it in you, we'll take it.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Joe. It's really great to be here. Thank you, everybody. Good to see Busy Graham up so early in the day, not keeping those artist lifestyle hours.
God give us the eyes to see that storm on the water, to see that storm on the water in these troubled times. And God troubled time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. God give us the heart to feel that storm on the water, to feel that storm on the water. In these troubled times, and God give us the joy to dance like a storm on the water, yeah, to dance like a storm on the water. In these troubled times, in these troubled times. I heard a comment about the scatting earlier, so we're gonna go back to that scatting part just one more time. God give us the strength to be that storm on the water, to be that storm on the water. In these troubled times, in these troubled times, yeah, we may be facing these troubled times, but we need your joy, and we need your grace, forgiveness, love, acceptance, joy. In these troubled times, in these troubled times, in these troubled times. Stay blessed, everyone. Thank you so much. Happy 2021.
Thank you, Dan and Claudia. Let's give them a huge thank you before they leave us. And we are so excited to have had the chance to sing and talk with you again today and can't wait till the next time. Let's all wave Dan and Claudia out of the room. Thanks, gang, for joining us.
Well,
Thank you.
Lots of love. Bye-bye.
bye.
And thank you to everybody else who's in this room. And thank you to everybody on Facebook Live. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody out there now and can't wait to sing with you again tomorrow.